much needed topic in education now, which is
Ma'am,
lacking a lot now. Yeah,
we are live.
thank you. Yeah. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening, good morning, Bamatin, or greetings of the day. So, Laliji, you can make Jenny ma'am host. And today, here we are again on the session of metamorphosis on a very hard-hitting topic of aerodynamics. What is actually aerodynamics? And we have two excellent speakers today whom I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude for accepting this invitation for being a part of today's show. Lalit ji, Jenny ma'am ko host bana dijiye. Yeah. So today, before I invite the speaker of the today, and I just share a few glimpses of what the today's session is going to be. Rat race. I think we are all running in a rat race. Winning a rat race may make you a champion rat and nothing more. The message is that success in a competitive and often cutthroat environment, the cutthroat environment that is the rat race, doesn't necessarily lead to personal growth, fulfillment, or a higher level of being. In other words, even if you've been in a system that values competition and material success above all else, you may still be bound by the same limitations and flaws that define that system. I again emphasize on the words, you may still be bound by the same limitations and flaws that define that system. True fulfillment and growth comes from within and can't be achieved solely through external validation or success. So today I would like to hand over the mantle to Jenny Rapstead ma'am from USA, and to whom I sincerely respect ma'am a lot and have been actually watching her ethics, and that is the name of today's session, ethical aerodynamics. So over to you, Jenny ma'am, for creating awareness on this topic, and please take the stage. The platform is yours today. All the best, Jenny.
Thank you very, very much. First of all, I want to know, I'm at a good audible level, right? You can hear me well? Okay. I want to thank you very much for all those kind words. I appreciate it very much. I always enjoy being on a Metamorphosis program. You cover serious topics that are thought-provoking and stimulating. And I learn a lot from the people you have on. But, you know, I must congratulate you on something that you said early, which I've never thought of in those terms. You know, when you're in the rat race, the goal is not to be the champion rat, right? No, I love that champion rat phrase. So ethics and edudynamics, you know, the word dynamic means that it's changing. And hopefully we want it to change for the good, because around the world, I think they are suffering similar problems to what we are having here in the United States. We have a brand new president, Donald Trump, and he wants to do away with the national, education department because they're not functioning at a level that benefits the students. So I did some research myself to see if what he's saying is true. And he said that the United States now ranks 40th, 40th in the world for student scores. So that's reading, writing, and math. Focuses basically on math scores. But we are 40th now. And that means we've lost ground, because in one of the researches that I have done, in 2012, the United States was 36th. So we've fallen 4 places instead of climbing up the ladder. Of course, the highest scoring students come from Shanghai, China, then Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, South Korea, and then in the West, Finland comes next. I'm not sure where India fits in the scale, but United Kingdom, 26th, and here we are in the US with supposedly, the best educational system around, and it's not. We're 40th. Now, the last time that I spoke here on the program, I talked about the teacher shortage in the United States and burnout. And one of the things that affects burnout is a lack of funding and support, but also a lack of commitment to the profession. So we have to review, I think, in my estimation, what are the ethical stanchions of this profession? What do we owe our students? What do we owe the profession itself? And how can we support this profession in our own countries? Because I'll tell you, 40th is not acceptable to the president of my country. And he wants to turn education over to the states as opposed to the national bureaucracy. And one of the reasons for that is over time, the woke leftist agenda has taken over the Department of Education, and they're focusing on things that are not as important as the fundamentals as reading, writing, and math and science scores. They're focusing more on woke ideologies, gender this, gender that. I'm telling you, it is really upsetting the parents in the United States. And in the conservative states, they voted out the current administration, which supported all this woke stuff. And so now we have a brand new administration that was sworn in January, and we want to go back to the fundamentals. And so that's going to I think, is going to take a rededication of the educators. Good morning, I see you. How are you? It's going to take a rededication of the educators across the board, because if you're just going through the motions right now of teaching because you're disillusioned, burnt out, you just have one grudge after another, you are going to bring that into your teaching. And so you will not be able to serve your students. I did some research into what the National Education Association stands for. They have a code of ethics. And teachers who belong to the National Education Association are supposed to follow this code of ethics. And so the preamble is that the NEA, the National Education Association, believes in the quality of services of the educational profession and how it directly influences the nation and its citizens. And so the educators should exert every effort to raise professional standards, to promote a climate that encourages the exercise of professional judgment, to achieve conditions that attract persons worthy of the trust to careers in education, and to assist in preventing the practice of the profession by unqualified persons. Now, see, this is directly to the point that I made the last time I took to this platform and talked about how underqualified people were being allowed to teach in the United States because we have a teacher shortage. So my statement last time, my opinion, and what I truly believe is, rather than populating our educational society with people who are underqualified just to fill the roles, we need to recommit ourselves to attracting qualified people to the profession. So into that goal, I'd like to say what the NEA requires of educators, that they shall not, in an application, deliberately make a false statement or fail to disclose a material fact related to the competency and qualifications of the teachers. And we have right now in 7 states people who are actually taking underqualified people, no problem. But that is not the standard that we should be following. Professional educators should not misrepresent their own qualifications. And I firmly believe that if you have an educational background, you should state that freely. But if you are not a master like I hold or a doctorate, you shouldn't say that you are, because that is basically just lying. And it means that you haven't had the education and training that you probably need for your job. Ethical educator should not assist any entry into the profession of a person known to be unqualified in respect to character, education, or other relevant attributes. And this is a problem we have here in the United States, where the woke agenda has taken over, and still people, instead of trying to teach our children, are involved in whether or not they should transition to another sex. I mean, this is not the role of educators in a grammar school. It just isn't. So the parents are fighting back about that. And one of the benefits of the pandemic, when everybody went to remote learning, the parents at home had an opportunity to hear what the teachers were telling their students, to their children. And they said, no, you have to stop that. So we shall not assist a non-educator in the unauthorized practice of teaching. Once again, this goes back to what I was saying. We are hiring underqualified people because we have a teacher shortage. That is not the answer to the problem. We should be developing a campaign to inspire people in universities to want to study to be teachers at grammar school, middle school, and high school levels, and also, of course, in university. We should not disclose information about colleagues obtained in the course of professional service unless disclosure serves a compelling professional purpose or is required by law. In other words, it is not our role to spy on people and to report their deficiencies to other people. I mean, there is a chain of command. If somebody is not performing at the level they should be, this is not anything we broadcast on social media. There is a dignified professional process that we should follow. We should never, ever make knowingly false or malicious statements about a colleague. Once again, we have to keep the morale of our teachers high. And how can we do that if they are the subject of, attacks by their colleagues, especially senseless attacks? One of the problems we have in the United States across the board is that we have a corrupt social media. We call it the legacy media. They don't mind saying whatever they want about people they don't like. And there's a very popular TV show, which is in some circles, to me, I've never watched it, but they just lost a lawsuit to the first lady of our country, 900 million US dollars, because they slandered her for the fun of it. See, this is what we have to do away with in our society as a whole, because when we have television shows that are basically hatchet jobs on people in the public eye, we are teaching our children that that's an okay way to behave. And I don't want a country made up of children who have been taught that it's okay to slander people that you don't like just for the fun of it. Teachers should not accept any gratuity, gift, or favor that might impair or appear to influence professional decisions or actions. Once again, we've experienced this now that we have a new administration and new people are investigating what has been going on, the failed policies. We turn over that proverbial rock and all of this stuff comes out. And we as professional educators should never stoop that low. And I'm not saying that you can't accept an apple for the teacher, or it's Teacher's Day and your child brings you a little bouquet of flowers. I'm talking about, bribes. I'm talking about that kind of dishonesty, that once again, teachers are students, that it is okay to engage in that kind of behavior. No, no, that is a long way from being an ethical educator. Now I'd just like to take a moment to talk about the ethical commitment that we educators have to our students. And once again, this is advice and standards from the National Education Association, which unfortunately, even though they are dedicated to high standards, we see once again, due to teacher shortages, we're hiring unqualified people in some instances that don't necessarily follow these guidelines. And my purpose in making this public is I want to encourage us to go back to these standards and to encourage people to follow these standards so that we can have the highest level of education for our students, and that we aren't sitting at 40 in the world and next time they do the survey we're at 45 or 50 and the standards just keep dropping. Okay, so this is advice from the National Education Association here in America. The educator should strive to help each student realize his or her potential as a worthy and effective member of society. Now, there's a thought. Tell the child that they are a worthy member of their society, as opposed to a little kid that doesn't know anything. No, we have to start encouraging them from grade school. You are important, capable, you have potential, you are worthy. This is what we need to teach them, in my opinion. The educator works to stimulate the spirit of inquiry, the acquisition of knowledge and understanding, and the thoughtful formulation of worthy goals. Wouldn't that be great if every educator took a moment during the course of a school year to encourage each and every student to understand that they are important and that they should formulate worthy goals for their future? Not just get through class, not just move up to the next grade, but to really think about why they're getting an education so that they can, be an asset to themselves and their society. So in fulfillment of the obligation to the student, the educator shall not unreasonably restrain the student from independent action in the pursuit of learning. Wouldn't it be great if a child came to their teacher and said, I have an idea. I'd like to pursue this little project here. What do you think about it? Will you help me? And then outside of the coursework, the teacher helps the child explore their idea. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I know that we are all, as educators, taxed for time, but sometimes we have to understand where the student is coming from, and we should never squash their creativity and desire to learn and grow. The educator shall not unreasonably deny the students access to varying points of view. See, I believe in education, not indoctrination. Children should have the benefit of respectfully learning different points of view that exist in their society, because that's one of the ways we have peace. That's one of the ways that we have respect for our fellow citizens and, citizens of the world. The educator shall not deliberately suppress or distort subject matter relevant to the student's progress. We have a teaching plan that is approved by our school, and that is what we should be teaching. And if we don't happen to agree with it or like it, that doesn't mean that we get to just distort it and go down rabbit trails that lead to nowhere. The educator shall make a reasonable effort to protect the student from conditions harmful to learning or to health and safety. That's just common sense. Protect the student in the learning environment, make them feel safe. And how do we do that? By acting in a mature, friendly, welcoming, supportive way. The worst thing we can do as teachers is make students feel afraid to contribute to the conversation. That will get us nowhere. Educators shall not intentionally expose the student to embarrassment or disparagement. You know, I've lived a long time, taken a lot of classes, seen a lot of teachers, and I'm going to tell you there are some people that need to have an attitude adjustment. If they think that it benefits some poor little kid to be humiliated by them in front of their class. I've seen it. I've felt a lot of empathy for the student who is being belittled by somebody who should know better. Educators shall not, on the basis of race, color, creed, sex, national origin, marital status, political or religious beliefs, family, social or cultural background, or sexual orientation, unfairly exclude any student from participation in a program, deny benefits to any student, grant any advantage to any student. You know, I thought when I was looking at this, they mentioned family, social, marital status. When I was teaching at university, I had a young man in my class, and he was married. His wife was pregnant, and she was having a follow-up examination, and he asked me, I couldn't schedule it any other time, but would you mind if I step out into the hall and be a part of this Facebook Live? No, not Facebook Live. You know, that when you can use your phone to be, please help me out if you know, but when you can be interactive with a video. And so she had her camera on, and so they were doing an ultrasound. I said, sure. He was gone from class for 10 minutes because he wanted to be there to support his wife and their unborn baby. Now, what am I supposed to say? No, you can't leave my class because my class is so important. You can't lose 10 minutes of it. No, we need to support people, especially when I felt that he had a really caring and good reason to step outside for 10 minutes. This is what people that care about their students do. You know, they listen, they pay attention, they hear, and they support. Educators shall not use professional relationships with students for private advantage. That's a bad one. We have to have integrity. We have to have an ethical background for that supports our relationships with our students. That keeps us on the straight and narrow, and then we don't take advantage of them or put them in situations that makes them feel uncomfortable. And then finally here, educators shall not disclose information about students obtained in the course of professional service unless disclosure serves a compelling professional purpose or is required by law. So that's just common sense. We learn things about our students. I told you this story, but I didn't identify the person. You know, I'm just using it as an example. But we don't ever want to say the person's name or around people that may know them, know the circumstances. No, we were very, very, that was held to a high standard when I taught at Purdue. We had training in that. We keep information to ourselves. We don't discuss health issues, personality problems. You know, there was a procedure to get assistance for the student if they needed it, counseling. And this is what an ethical educator does. They don't go into the teacher's lounge and start, you know, talking about their students and this, that, and the other thing. You know, we have to respect their privacy, and we have to be mature enough to understand that. Ethics are made up of values, principles, and relationship commitments. Ethics are influenced by the social and physical environment in which they exist. Dynamics are the complex relationship between authority, influence, and moral principles. Moral dynamics are the processes that create, evolve, and spread moral attitudes and behaviors. And every educator should have moral dynamics that they rein themselves in, that they act in a mature and ethical way at all times, and also empathetic. We have to understand that our students are people with all kinds of things that happen in their life. Let's face it, things happen to people. Ethical responsibility is the ability to recognize and act on values and principles in a given context. Ethical leadership is a style of leadership that emphasizes principles like respect, accountability, and honesty. Ethical dynamics can be applied in many contexts, including journalism, leadership, and communication. Moral dynamics refer to the processes and phenomena, collective or individual, by which moral behavior and moral attitudes emerge. So at this point, that concludes my presentation. If we have any comments from my esteemed colleagues, please jump in with any questions you may have.
Wonderful, wonderful, Jenny ma'am. I think a lot of key valid points have been spoken on this topic. And definitely I'll go through the write-up that you have given me. I will publish it and let people be aware of exactly what is the edudynamics about. Because the real meaning of ethics is not well versed with people. They just keep talking, but it's not being seen. It's not being visible. Because when you were talking about some live session, that is we call it video conferencing. I think so.
Yes, a video.
Yeah. Yes, video
I-
conferencing, which I totally avoid also because people do not present themselves as presentable they should be. When you are
Okay.
actually in a session and which is going to create an awareness, they need to be totally professionally aligned with what the content and what the creation is. So
I,
thank you so much for being a part of today's session, and definitely I'm coming with the second round and over to my next speaker of the day. Thank you, ma'am, for joining right at the time. We were waiting for you. And over to Jelena Boskovic, ma'am, academician Professor Dr. Jelena Boskovic, ma'am, from Serbia. She will introduce about herself and what is her take on the topic of today. Over to you, ma'am. The stage is yours. Both my international favorite speakers.
Good morning, good day, good evening. Respected ma'am, Professor Dr. Sonal Kimajai, host pioneer, and honored Jane Raspid guest speaker, ladies and gentlemen. I owe a special thanks for the invitation to be speakers and send my warm greeting to Optimizer, interesting section from the founder, Metamorphosis, Ma'am Sonal, Professor Sonal, Dr.
It's
Kima
yours
Jedi,
also.
and entire time. Global international reflection, ethical education dynamic. I will begin my presentation with a quote from Immanuel Kant, an extraordinary thinker. All our knowledge began with the sense, then proceed to understanding, and owns with reason. There is nothing more than reason. I have been present in university education and science for decades, and throughout all I have always dealt with ethic, logic, andragogy, epistemology, psychology, especially philosophy, who have made an immeasurable contribution to all science through all scientific discipline. And anyone who does not know the philosophy of the science they are dealing with is not a true thinker or scientist. This ethic may be defined as the systematic study of human action, the point of view of their rightfulness or wrongfulness at means of the intent of the ultimate happiness. It's the reflective study. What is good or bad in that part of human conduct for which human heart has some personal responsibility. It serves as to foundation and character development, conflict resolution, and critical thinking. By recognizing the importance of ethics in education, we prepare students to become ethical leader who can address the complex moral challenge in the 21st century. The purpose of this our broadcast was to provide an overview of the scholarly publication of ethical leadership in education research, driving on the database to 117 articles published between 1919 and 2024. Today, ethics has been important place in all areas of life. Education is always a fundamental process of human life. Therefore, in education, ethics plays a very important and effective role. In order to be a good human, ethics should be placed as a course in educational system. In this, my lecture, it will be discuss the ethics education in schools, in university, in very important all students in the world, and the university professor teaching school. In doing this, he also discussed teaching ethics is important in education. Before discussing this my issue, it's necessary to define what ethics is and what education is. Descriptive statistics and contain analysis methods were used to identify trends in the ethical leadership literature in terms of volume and growth trajectory of ethical leadership research, geographical and journal distribution, type of article, authorship trends, research impact, research methods, key theme, and finding associated with empirical ethical leadership research in education. The results revealed that 28% of the article were conceptual, while rest, which empirical, 72% with the subject of empirical article. 16.1% the study adapted quantitative methods, followed by quantitative study. 13.1 and mixed method article 8%. The analysis found that the ethical leadership research adapting qualitative methodology focused on 4 major themes: the practice of school ethical leadership, the dilemmas, challenge of ethical leadership, development of the ethical leaders, and overlapping issue. The analysis has also identified and antecedent mediators, moderators, and outcome associated with quantitative ethical leadership research in education research. Recommendations were provided to strengthen future ethical leadership research. Ethics is prominent subject is in almost all academic fields. However, the teaching of ethics is a conventional matter in terms of its aim, scope, method, and so on. Beside this point, the issue of quality in ethics education is another essential consideration which needs to define the concept of quality and determine its indicator as well as measurement. Therefore, establishing certain standards and principles as well ethics education may benefit all ethics programs across the world and created a global standardization at some point. Nevertheless, priority or to proposing any methods, model, standard, or indicator looking at the existing situation of the current ethic programs would give opportunity to detect good practice, shortages, and shortcoming. In this sense, the aim of this my presentation was the review the literature on ethics education to exhibit the further the present ethics program and benefits from their experience to determine what quality in ethics education is. The finding demonstrate that both student and education believe that ethics education generation positive impact on ethical awareness, knowledge, and reasoning. However, the revised study did not indicate explicit and adequate clues to drive a conclusion about what quality in ethics education is and which teaching methods in the most. What is the 5 ethics in education model code of educator ethics MCEI? Principle 1, responsibility to the professional. Principle 2, responsibility for professional competence. Principle 3, responsibility to students. Principle 4, responsibility to school and university community. Principle 5, responsibility and ethical use of technology. In my present age, ethics has an important place in all areas in the world of life. Ethics has also become important in education because education is fundamental process in human life. Therefore, ethics is very important subject in education. We can easily reach all knowledge by technology. In education, using technology revives some ethical problems such as plagiarism, especially artificial intelligence in application in education process. Ethics is most important and functioning branch of philosophy in today. In general, ethics is moral philosophy. The term ethics is derived from Greek term etios, which means custom, character is related to our value and variety. Therefore, our action and our experience in everyday life the subject of ethics. We have the capacity to think about our choice, responsible discussion, and action. In addition to this, can the ethic and the study what wrong or right, good, right, wrong, right, voice, justice, and injustice are some ethical concepts. Ethics divide in two parts: theoretical ethics and applied ethics in the human life, especially education. Theoretical ethics include normative ethics, descriptive ethics, and metaethics. Applied ethics refer to professional ethics. Ethics theoretical, applied protocol, normative ethic, professional ethic, descriptive ethic, meta-ethic. Normative ethic is the study of what make action right and wrong. Meta-ethic is about the theoretical meaning and the reference and moral proposition. Descriptive ethic is about fact. Examines ethic from observation of actual choice made by moral angels. In practice, apply ethics examine the particular ethical issue of private and public life. Professional ethics is on the define and standards or codes to provide people to guidance their professional life. In general, there is 4 basic principles: ethical, honesty, confidently, conflict of interest, responsibility. Education in general sense is any act, experience that has a formative effect on the mind, character, or physical ability of individual. Etymologically, the word education is a process of learning, acquiring information. It means teaching and learning. Education affects and human mind, character, and physical ability. The history of education began with the human history itself. Education also a way to become civilized human individual and is maximize human potential. Is a problem ethical thinking in 21st century scale, challenge in definition and assessment. Education leaders have long argued for importance of preparing students for increasingly global, interconnected, and technologically complex world. In process globalization today, the array of skills necessary to thrive in the world skills such as critical things, collaboration, and creativity present substantial challenge to education which to define, teach, and act them. In this post, it explores some of these challenge skills that increasingly consider important to 21st century thriving ethical thing. The most widely used is 21st century skills. So I use the term here to refer all such from work. Ethical thinking is the process of identifying and describing ethical issue in a variety of context, articulating the ethical consideration involved in different response to the disease issue and providing a rational for position that address this consideration. Developing culture, variability of moral reasoning is very interesting. Ethic, instruction, approach, ethical thinking, assessment and ethical thinking, assessment consideration is very important. Watch one is the ethic challenge, 21st century, social work, education, social media, and digital literacy. Is important. Focus, discussion, today, student in school and university. New media literacy and participatory culture is problem today. Which method? Survey design. Analysis statistic was conducted using finding ANOVA, analysis procedure statistics, discussion, lecture, our student, very important. Yes, please.
I think we may have temporarily lost Sanal, but we are still recording the session.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so please proceed.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I just got a message from Sanal, and she has, unfortunately, she's logged out of this. So please proceed to your conclusion.
Yes. Dear Sonal, thank you very much for section. Madam Jane and I discuss ethic education, the education dynamic in the century, especially 21st century. Goodbye, Jane. Goodbye. Nice to meet you.
You don't have to log off. I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank you for your presentation, which was erudite and very inclusive, covered so many concepts. And I just want to ask you one question. In your opinion, the ethical standard that the profession sets for itself, how does that help the student raise their test scores and knowledge? Do you find that there's a relationship? Because I know in the United States, we're losing ground. We are not, it's not so much that the students are failing, they're not progressing in the worldwide standard. We are now number 40.
Yes.
And I find that there has been, my opinion, a decline in ethical behavior by some educators, and that is a result of our decline. What's your view on that topic?
Yes, a student is very part of human population. Very interesting students. Justice, they're according to social standards. Utilitarianism, the greatest good for the greatest number. Tautology, meeting a duty to obligate by society, human rights. The rights of human life to life, be free, and pursue happiness. By recognizing the importance of ethics in education, we prepare students to become ethical leaders who can address the complex moral challenge of the 21st century. Ethical education goes behind teaching right from warning it cultivate a sense of social responsibility and commitment to justice and fairness. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Discuss, my friends. Goodbye. Nice to meet you. The best regards.
I'm going to close with a message that Sanal sent me for the sessions, and then we'll log out. This is from Sanal. Thank you to the presenters, me and Dr. Yelena. And this is what she says: time and good friends are two things that become more valuable the older you get. As we age, we often realize that time is limited and that the relationships we have with good friends are truly precious. Those friendships that stand the test of time are indeed invaluable. Valuing our time with them is essential, and especially as we get older and life gets busier. By prioritizing time with good friends, you'll nurture meaningful relationships, create lasting memories, and strengthening bonds that can last a lifetime. So that's from the message from our host, Sanal Jaj. And with that, I would like to thank all of you who have been listening in. We are going to end the broadcast now, and we'll see you next time on the Metamorphosis Learning Platform.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye, my dear friends, my beautiful friends.